Mike Wilner joins us now. I always got to know him as the host of Jays Talk. Now he's got the Deep Left Field podcast, writing the Toronto Star. He's got spice. He's got pizzazz. He wished us in the U.S. Happy Thanksgiving today, so I'll return it to you, Mike. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing all right, but no need to wish me happy Thanksgiving. It's just Thursday up here.
Yeah, you get it. What's up with your Eminem? What's up with your Eminem tweet? I just searched your Twitter thing, and I see you might have started another fire. What were you saying about Eminem?
Oh no, that was
your
like
pinned tweet.
Yeah, it was at the Super Bowl last year. It's the pinned tweet because it's got the podcast on it. But it was Eminem's.
Okay.
I tweeted something about him kneeling, and it like took off. It got more, I don't know, tens and tens of thousands of likes, more than I ever had. So I figure, why not get all these new people to know that I have a podcast? Because there's still a lot of people who even follow me who don't know it yet. Just trying to spread the word.
That's the thing, dude. You and I are in the same world. People just getting accustomed to us now. But I've been listening to you for years and loving it, as you know. I've told you that before. Where do we catch up on the Blue Jays in the offseason? Is the Teoscar Hernandez trade gone? Like, people still talking about that in Toronto, or like, where are we at?
I think we're just waiting for the next thing to happen, right? I think there's a pattern among Blue Jays fans and observers that they often feel like the first move of the offseason is the only move of the offseason, and they react to it that way. Like, what are you doing trading Teoscar Hernandez for a middle reliever? And yeah, fair enough in some aspects, but it's also opening up a whole big whack of dough, and it's opening up a spot in the outfield and in the batting order for a left-handed hitter that they really need. So, let's see where they fill that hole and what they do with that room in order to figure out, whether it was a good trade or not. So I think now we're just sort of waiting to see who that person's going to be. When Ross Atkins had his media availability after the Teoscar trade, he said, well, we have 5 outfielders right now in Lourdes Gurriel, George Springer, Whit Merrifield, Kevin Biggio, and Nathan Lucas. But nobody believes that the outfield on opening day is going to be Gurriel, Springer, and one of Merrifield, Biggio, or Lucas. They're going to find somebody else, and somebody who's quite good, you would think, to plug in either to center or right. And I think that's sort of, what people are thinking about. They're looking at Arizona, and Arizona's got 5 left-handed hitting center fielders, and they're a rebuilding team. The Blue Jays have stuff that they want. So we're waiting for a trade with the Diamondbacks. And, people are looking at Cody Bellinger, who got non-tendered the other day, and seeing if maybe he's the solution in center field.
Who's the biggest available free agent right now, talent-wise, at any position in your mind?
It's tough. Aaron Judge is out there, and he just won the MVP, and he had a phenomenal season for the Yankees that he's never going to do again. Carlos Correa is probably the best out there, the most talented. He is an elite defensive shortstop with a plate discipline and power. And I would say Carlos Correa is the best guy out there.
Well, Bellinger, by being non-tendered, would be in that pool, right? Like, what would he do for the Blue Jays? And I see the rumors. What are the chances that he does come to Toronto?
I don't think they're especially great. If we cross promote a bit, if you listen to my podcast, Deep Left Field, it's coming out in a couple hours. I have a long conversation with Mike Farron, who used to do what I did for Arizona. And we talked about the Diamondbacks trade, and then we talked about Cody Bellinger, because he's been watching the National League West for a long, long time. And Cody Bellinger's deal is, he was the Rookie of the Year in 2017. He was incredible. Then he won the MVP in 2019. He was even better. He is an elite defensive center fielder with great speed, phenomenal athleticism. But he hurt his shoulder in 2019 in the playoffs, high-fiving somebody or, doing an elbow bump or whatever. And he hurt his shoulder, and he hasn't been able to hit since. He's been a terrible hitter for the last 3 years. And So he's 27 years old. He's trying to rebuild his value. He's looking for a 1-year contract, and he'll probably get somewhere around $15 million or north of it for 1 year because of the potential that's in there. But I think, Farron and I sort of came to the conclusion that the best thing for Cody Bellinger to do is to sign with a team like Colorado or the Cubs, a team that's not expected to do well, where there won't be any pressure on him as a hitter, and where if he does well, then he'll get traded at the deadline, so he won't have a qualifying offer attached to him when he goes back into free agency next year. So I think when you look at Cody Bellinger's, you look at it through Cody Bellinger's eyes, what's best for his career is not to sign with the Blue Jays, which is not to say he won't, but it's to say that I think odds are better he goes somewhere else. And to be honest, I don't want him signing with the Blue Jays if he's going to cost that much money, because this is not a guy who you can say, okay, we've got our center fielder, we're good now, that's a spot filled. This is a guy who you can say, man, we hope he bounces back. And if he does, he's going to be really terrific. But if he doesn't, he's going to be Brad Zimmer.
I'll flip this back on you. You said it to me this summer. It's not your money, Mike.
It's not. But it does, they have a budget.
I'm teasing you.
It ties up some dough.
Yeah. We only got a couple minutes here, but I can't get out of this interview without asking you. The pitching change in Game 2 against the Mariners, what was it, 6th inning? Was it the biggest implosion? What happened after that in Blue Jays history, maybe Toronto sports history? The way that unfolded?
What happened after that was absolutely the biggest
blowing the lead
in Blue Jays history. Yeah. But it wasn't the pitching change's fault. I mean, you should be able to rely on for all the criticism the Blue Jays bullpen has gotten, you should be able to rely on them to get 10 outs before they give up 9 runs. And they didn't, and the bases were loaded because Kevin Gausman had loaded the bases. So I don't know why everyone is so incredibly sure that Kevin Gausman would have gotten out of that jam just because he'd gotten 2 guys in a row out. The next hitter was Carlos Santana, who had missed hitting a home run off Gausman by about 4 inches in his last at bat. So I'm not blaming the pitching change by any means. There's certainly no guarantee that the same thing wouldn't have happened had Gausman stayed in, but it absolutely. It's going to be forever in Blue Jays lore. It was 8-1, and that's all you're going to have to say for the next 100 years to know what people are talking about.
Yeah. We have less than a minute, but Ted in Red Deer wants to know, how big of an effect will the balanced schedule in 2023 be for the Blue Jays? Less AL East and more others has to be good, right?
Oh, yeah, it has to be good. But remember, it's good for everybody else in the AL East, too. And Baltimore's actually going to be good next year. I can see every team in the American League East winning 95 games next year with the balanced schedule. They don't have to be 7 less games where they get to beat up on each other, and or 7 less each, right? So 28 fewer games where they get to beat up on each other, and 28 more games where they get to beat up on everybody else across the major leagues. So maybe Boston's going to suck. Probably Boston's going to suck. But I can see the American League East like setting all kinds of records in the future with this balanced schedule.
Okay, Mike, thank you. And your podcast episode, 87 is dropping this afternoon, The Great Ernie Witt?
Yep, 87, Ernie Witt. And Ernie Witt talks about 87 because that was the biggest Blue Jays collapse prior to the one we just talked about. So I asked him, which was worse, and you'll be interested to hear what he has to say.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate the time. Catch up soon.
Anytime, Rod. Thanks for having me.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of The Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.